Good evening, everyone. I'm Suma Rajesh, and I'm here to introduce our keynote speaker. And sir, it's an honor and privilege to introduce you. Dr. Muralee Thummarukudy is Director G20 Global Land Initiative based in UN headquarters, Bonn, in Germany. He brings to this position over 3 decades of global management experience in the UN and private sector, an internationally renowned expert in disaster response. He played a key role in addressing the environmental aftermath of many major conflicts and disasters, implementing projects in over 35 countries. Before joining the UN, Dr. Thummarukudy served as environmental advisor to Shell Group in Southeast Asia and the Middle East. Prior to his current assignment, Dr. served as the Chief of Disasters and Conflicts Program at the United Nations Environment Program. Dr. Thummarukudy has a PhD in Environmental Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. He was also a Bears Fellow at the University of California, Berkeley. Dr. Muralee is also an award-winning author in his native Malayalam and a social media influencer. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Muralee.
The United Nations, we have a bad habit of speaking too long. So, normally, when you have a boring speaker, people start to look at their watch and see when anything going to stop. And the UN, people, they generally look at the calendar and see when are they going to stop. Very good evening to all of you. So I was setting a timer for myself that I don't speak more and then what I allocated. Very good evening to all of you. I'm extremely thankful to the Dhabi chapter, the Chartered Accountants, for inviting me here. And I can see such a full house coming on I think it's a working day here to come and listen to this lecture, a series of lectures. And I also want to thank my fellow panelists for being here. And I'm looking forward to listening from them as well. I was told that one of the objectives is also to have the resolution is to make more money next year. I'm actually turning 60 this year, and like all of us, we have our WhatsApp groups. So in my WhatsApp group, among my peers, I say we should start learning how to spend money now, because we have been earning money so much, and probably we are in the last quarter of our life, maybe last 1/3, I don't know. But still, I think it's the time that we start to spend money. But no harm in making more money as we spend money as well. So, as was mentioned, I work for the United Nations, and I'm here in Dubai for the climate change meeting, which I just came in from there. And for the last 2 years, I have been working in Bonn, Germany, setting up a new unit on land restoration. Now, before that, I was Chief of Disaster Management in UNEP, and in my native language, people still know me as a disaster expert, and I'm actually called Brother Disaster back home in Kerala. I'm actually called Durandetan in Kerala, a badge of honor which I keep. And when I moved to this new job, people are not really impressed. Land restoration. What is this land restoration? But land is something very fundamental to all of us. Now, those of you who are probably at my age or around, they probably see the connection between land and people very clearly. Because when I was growing up, we were farming rice, and that was the rice we ate. And we were drinking the water from our well. And if I was sick, my mom will go into the field and get some herbs and make some sort of concoction, and that was our medicine. Some of you, I don't know if you can believe this, when I was very young, we did not even have soap, and so instead of soap, we were actually using a certain type of, and even shampoo, we were using various herbs and leaves. So our life intrinsically dependent upon land. Every day. We are playing on the land. And now, all that has changed for the new generation. My son, for example, now he sees and the milk coming from in a packet, not from a cow. Rice coming, sitting in the supermarket. Water is in the pipe. Medicine is in the pharmacy. So the link between our life and land is no longer very clear. And that's why the land actually gets degraded, because it doesn't matter whether land is degraded or not. Whereas in our generation, the land was degraded, our life was lost. Of course, the connection between land and people, it is still there. Rice is still grown in the land. Water is still coming from the land. Many of the medicines are still coming from natural products. It's just that it's not happening right in front of you. So land degradation should matter to everyone. In addition, as Priyanka mentioned, land also holds a lot of carbon, and that's why we are here at the climate change meeting to push for carbon solutions which are also linked to land. As I just told, as you were told, I am not going to talk about land restoration today. I will talk about changing professions in a post-ChatGPT world. ChatGPT is just about 1 year old. I think this is December 2022 that ChatGPT came in, and it was the fastest growing software application in history. It reached 1 million users, I think, in less than 1 week. And last month it almost imploded for internal troubles. But my interest in this topic actually started interestingly with a speech from the UAE Minister for Artificial Intelligence. UAE is the only country in the world which actually has a Minister for Artificial Intelligence, Dr. Muralee. So in Geneva, where I was working at that time, we organize about 9,000 meetings every year. So there is, every working day there are 300, 400 meetings. Different, there are 25 agencies which are headquartered in the UN. So there are all sort of meetings going on. But every day I get a list of meetings, and one day I saw this meeting, the Minister for AI is speaking. I was very curious. So I said maybe I should go and listen to this. So I went, and I met this very young professional. I think he was 29 at that time. He became a minister at 27. Then he started explaining what's the strategy for AI for the UAE, and how UAE has sent 60 of its very senior officials to Oxford University for a course on AI and governance, so that they came back and started looking at their own institutions, health, transport, civil aviation, education, and see how AI can be integrated. And AI has moved on in Dubai since then. AI has moved on in Dubai since then. There is a full AI strategy, keeping AI as the 2031 as the milestone where they want to be the world leaders on AI. And during that time, he mentioned that the UAE is going to start world's first university for artificial intelligence. This is, I think, in November 29. Of course, as we know, in December 2019, COVID hit, and then 2020, it was COVID time. Everything was locked down, and in 2021, Dubai Expo started. So I actually wrote to him and said, you mentioned that University of AI you were planning to establish. I know there's COVID, but did it actually get established? And he wrote to me and said, yes, there was a small delay, but we have started. So when I came to see the expo, at that time there was a control traveling between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, but still I managed to come to the University for Artificial Intelligence in Masdar. and start having discussion. So it really triggered a lot of interest as to what are the potential of AI and how is it going to change professions. In 2013, the Oxford University actually did a study on how careers are going to change in the next 17 years. Actually, they said by 2030, 46% of all existing careers would vanish. 46% of the different career types, not jobs. So, for example, if you have to take driver as a career type and doctors as a career type, the numbers are not equal. So, if 46% of types of jobs will vanish, which could actually mean 70% of the jobs would vanish. I read the report in 2015 and I actually didn't believe it. But as you saw during COVID, millions of jobs vanished like that and they didn't come back. And more jobs are getting destroyed, vanished every day. Many more jobs will go. The Oxford report was not just looking at AI, it was looking at all the new technologies. But then came a report from the World Economic Forum, as well as from International Labour Organization, which focused on AI and employment. I think there's also McKinsey's report on the same topic. All of them are actually going to the same conclusion objectively, which is that a lot of jobs would vanish. But of course, that's not a very pleasing message to put forward. So they're also sugarcoating it and saying, of course, it will also create a lot of new jobs. So you can upskill, you can reskill. And therefore, the society will by and large remain okay. This, in my opinion, is a little bit of wishful thinking. Because the type of jobs which are being created is not accessible to the people whose job is being taken away. So you cannot reskill, let's say somebody who is cleaning the drain, automatically into a robot technician, if the robots were to take up the jobs of cleaning a drain. So there are some barriers to this upskilling or reskilling practice. But it will need to be done in large numbers. There would be significant changes in it. While all this was going on in the background, and people are debating about whether AI will take away jobs or not, and COVID actually changed the equilibrium a little bit. That a lot of jobs went home, and a lot of people who went home did not want to come back to work in the Western world. Still, in UN, for example, people no longer want to come back to work because the law, internal policy only allows 3 days of working from home. People are coming reluctantly for 2 days. But the whole office atmosphere setup in the Western world is totally gone. But then suddenly came ChatGPT. Till ChatGPT came, AI was something which people thought is something which is remote, is something which only super experts actually use. But ChatGPT changed that as well. ChatGPT brought AI to write into your cards, your mobile phones, and people are getting answers. And as well as is ChatGPT honest? The answer is no. It is actually not very honest. And of course, if it asks ChatGPT, I don't know what it will say. I probably should ask. And AI, and this has been tested many times. ChatGPT, one of the challenges with ChatGPT is that it actually makes up stories. If it doesn't know an answer, it doesn't say I don't know sometimes, it will actually make up, including on a scientific paper, it will actually make up full references. And this is one of the challenges. But it's also a fact that it reduces your workload absolutely phenomenally. Absolutely. I'll give you an example. Every year I write an article for the Manorama yearbook in back home on career management. Every year I take a different topic, but later in the day. 1 week of research work to write and then take another 2 days to actually draft it. For this year article, I thought I will probably ask ChatGPT and I will collaborate with ChatGPT. Because in the scientific world, now collaboration with ChatGPT is allowed. You can actually write ChatGPT as a co-author to your article. Yeah. Of course, there's debate on that, is it right, etc. But I think it's at least honest to put ChatGPT. So I said, okay, let me try. So I put 10 different questions, prompts, into the ChatGPT, and within 20 minutes, I had a full article which I normally would take 10 days to write. But then I stitched it together, asked ChatGPT to edit it. Took another few seconds, and in half an hour, I had a full article, which actually is going to be published this month. And I actually told, so it's actually not me, it's like me and ChatGPT together was producing. And this article was not a bad article, it was actually a very good article. I was trying to convince my colleagues that ChatGPT is going to change life dramatically. And many of them are not actually believing it. So I said I will shock them. And, so I did 2 experiments with them. I had a ChatGPT expert coming to our office to give a training. Now, one other thing we do in the UN, like in the Conference of Parties, is to draft resolutions. And this is almost like a specialty thing. It's almost like your accounting. There are some standards and how things should be done and so on. So, all our senior staff members were all sitting, and when we have a conference of parties like this, the resolution start to get drafted almost 1 year back, and then it's not debated and sniffed and wordsmithed and wordsmithed, and on the very last day it comes out. That's the sequence. But drafting of this is almost like a skill which you acquire over 20-25 years. Because you have to have full institutional memory of every other 27 forms which has happened, the General Assembly resolution by other UN agencies, regional institutions, etc. So it's a very complex task. I asked my friend to demonstrate live in front of all this audience and say, can you draft a UN resolution on this topic taking into account every other UN resolution which has happened on this topic and using the UN language? And 1 minute later, not even 1 minute, a few seconds later, says sure, came out. And our team was absolutely shocked. They never believed that ChatGPT could so easily split something which is so convincing. And these days, we do a test, even when we do recruitment. Every question which we set for the candidate, we also feed it to the ChatGPT. And believe me, every answer which comes from ChatGPT is better than every student which is coming. Now, I also do something else. I also check if some of the answers coming from the students came from ChatGPT. And actually, if they did, I don't discount them. I actually encourage them. I actually like them. Because then they are at least technologically up to date. So, I don't tell them to use it. In future, I may. But for the time being, I just experiment. So if I could not see how many are using ChatGPT because I was facing this way. But if you are not using ChatGPT, my recommendation is to use it every day. Every day. Because it will change things dramatically. But the second thing which I experimented that day was, so we had this corporate communication team. Communication, as you know, people who are in communication think that's a creative thing. Accounting, not creative, ChatGPT, AI will take over immediately. But creativity is something which never, this is what creative people always thought. So I just wanted to debunk that. So I said, now ChatGPT cannot do graphics yet. But there are programs which can do, AI programs which can actually do graphics. And so we said, please can you prepare, ChatGPT, can you prepare a PowerPoint presentation 4 on a certain topic, and it should have 5 bullet points, it should have 10 slides, it should have these whatever parameter. 1 minute later, you have the 5 bullet points. Then you take the whole thing, then you go to another program, I think it's called Canva, and ask Canva, here are the bullet point, can you create a very beautiful thing with this type of images? So you can just specify the type of images. Another 1 minute later, you have this absolutely brilliant PowerPoint presentation which generally a manager, if they ask the staff, would take 1 week to prepare. This is in 10 minutes. Now, of course, you have to check for accuracy because not everything may be right. So there is still, in the UN, there is already a policy on how to use ChatGPT that unsupervised products are not supposed to be let out. So we cannot yet put a chatbot based upon ChatGPT. That we are not allowed because it is not human supervised. But other institutions are already doing it. But the point I'm making is that there is all sort of programs, not just ChatGPT. Today, just before coming here, I was once again at the University for Artificial Intelligence. And we were discussing the development, and she said, I think the associate director for partnership, she said, apparently there is a website or news group called, there is an AI for it, or something like that. I have to still check. So that almost anything you want to do, there is an AI for it. This is the group. I will find out and let you know so that you can share. So when a program like this starts to come to you and start to affect your profession, how will you handle that one? And people are absolutely confused. The biggest confusion came from the education community. If students are all using ChatGPT to write their essays, how do you evaluate students? And some universities, very good universities, including IITs, and they were saying, okay, no, we will ask people to write with pen and paper so that they don't use ChatGPT. I think it's a completely wrong way of looking at education. ChatGPT is a tool. So the thing is to use that as a level playing field. Let everyone use ChatGPT, but then you use what is an intelligent way of using is prompting it, and that then becomes a skill. My own view is that the way the ChatGPT or the whole domain of AI will undermine careers will not be a dramatic overnight destruction of jobs. Instead, and this is not news to you, if you are in any profession, be a teacher, be an accountant, be a doctor, almost anything, if you do not use these tools, then you become redundant. But let's say for the next 10, 15 years, these tools will enhance your profession in a very dramatic manner. That you will be able to do a lot more, a lot less time, and then it is really for you and the society to figure out how will you deal with the extra time you have. Will you do more with that extra time, or will you use more of that time to relax, rest, travel, do whatever else you want. That's a social choice you make. But a time will come when many professions will indeed get redundant. At that point of time, and this is important for two sets of people. One is the people who are going into education now. When young people come to me for career guidance, and I tell them certain careers I actually don't see much of a future. For example, journalism, if someone were to ask me. I very strongly discourage people from taking journalism as a profession. Initially, I was talking about creativity, and people who thought creativity will not be destroyed. So one of the first things I did as ChatGPT was to write a script for a famous Malayalam movie. Now there is a famous Malayalam movie called Aram Thammaran. So I asked ChatGPT, can you write a script for Aram Thammaran 2? And 1 minute later, it writes me a script. And you can write any movie which you have watched, it will actually do. And university here was actually telling me that they have released an Arabic version of ChatGPT. They have a name for it, I can't remember. But so that, very soon there will be a Malayalam version of ChatGPT. It will be more intelligent and more up to date and more the information that can gathered from the Malayalam literature and Malayalam body of information. So we have to work at two levels. One is that those who are currently actively in a profession, it is not a time to look for another profession. We are not there yet. But it is absolutely time to be trained on all these new emerging tools. If you do not, if an accountant, if a doctor, if a teacher, if you are not up to date using these tools, you will absolutely be rendered very soon, maybe even 5 years. But if you master these tools, your capacity will enhance. So that's a very good thing. But for those who are in the university entering now, you have to be prepared that certain profession will indeed not exist for a very long time. And we cannot predict it much in advance. The things which you think will stay will go, things you thought will go very fast may stay. So what you have to be prepared is that things will change. This you have to be remembering. And therefore, you should be prepared for a lifelong learning that you are not, unlike in my case, for example, or in the majority of us, that we all work very hard to do 10 plus 2, a chartered accountancy, cost accountancy, a PhD, and that is our fixed deposit that we put in the bank, and the rest of our life we are living the interest of that capital we have accumulated by the time we are 25. That time is over. Now we will have to keep investing in that again and again, because whatever capital we have invested may become worthless. So we have to be prepared for a lifelong learning, which could include even changing your profession in your mid-career. I have been predicting, based upon what I read and what I understand, that somebody who is entering the university now, it is 100% certain. My father joined one company and retired from that company. 40 years he worked there. My brothers and sisters mostly in one job. So he entered as a supervisor in a cafeteria, he retired as a supervisor in a cafeteria, 40 years. My brothers and sisters entered the organization at junior level and then slowly moved up, but still stayed in that organization. And that's certainly over. That nobody who is entering the profession now will stay in their profession organization for their lifelong. And when I tell this in Kerala to even a government official, they're absolutely shocked because they think government jobs are for life. No, it's not. But so that is absolutely fair. It's already happening that in the IT industry, jumping every 2 years is very common. In our profession, slightly more, less so. But still, anybody who is coming out of university now will have to jump from organization to organization. This I think people are already internalized it. But what we can also predict is that anybody who is coming out of the university now may even have to shift from the profession which they are starting and do something else in their lifetime. And it may not be true for everybody, but it will be true for a lot of people. So we have to be prepared for a lifelong learning, including going back to the university again and again. Which also means that you should not spend all your time acquiring initial capital. You do not do unless you really want to be a super researcher and do something. So if you can hit the job market once you're a graduate, that's the right starting point. And then you spend 5 years, and then you look at the lay of the market, and you see how it's going. Then you go back to university, top it up, change, then move forward. So we have to be prepared for the question of lifelong learning. I'll conclude, and I don't know if there's a time for anyone to ask questions in your format, but I will just conclude by saying the world is going. On one side, as I said, the number of jobs will come down and the society will have to deal with it one by one. Some societies are trying to think that the jobs can be split into two. So the same job can be given to two person and everyone work 3 days a week, for example. That's one way of looking at it. The other part of the society is thinking maybe you can have some sort of a system of a universal basic income that everyone get an income from the government, regardless of whether they work or not, but there will be no right to work. That's also being experimented. I think it's also very likely that people, the whole idea that you will work for X number of years and retire and have a retirement life, I think that's also going to be a little bit redundant. And certainly people are not going to be able to retire at 60. People will have to work 70, 75, and of course people will be living longer as well. So we are moving into, but when I say all this, we don't have to think this world is going to be a more difficult place. I think it's going to be an easy place. If you only have to work, if ChatGPT or the AI is going to do most of your work, if you only have to work 4 hours a day instead of 8 or 12, you have to work only 3 days a week instead of 6, I think it's a good thing. I think if you are not stuck in your profession for your lifetime and you move and do something else, you start as a doctor and end as a, videographer, I think it's a good thing, or a chef. I think it's a good thing. We don't have to necessarily see this as a bad thing. But unless you are prepared for it, you could be caught unguarded and you could get into trouble. I would stop here, and if there's a format to answer question, I'm very happy to answer question, but if the procedure is to continue with others, I will leave it at that. I want to thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you very much for your enlightening keynote speech. So in the interest of time, we won't be able to take questions now, but the members in the audience can ask questions during the dinner time. Please stay back. To honor our speaker, may I please request our chairman, John George, leader PDC, Anu Thomas, and leader membership, Mohammed Shafi, to hand over a moment to our speaker.